Good evening. We'll call this regular meeting of the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education to order Monday, July 16th, 2018. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Taylor, please call the roll.
Mr. Browning.
Here.
Mr. McCourt.
Here.
Ms. Reister.
Here.
Ms. Malad.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here. I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Any discussion? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries. Superintendent's report. Mr. North.
Thank you. The only thing I have on the agenda tonight is just to share with you that the construction is now underway. You received this information, but for the people here at the board meeting, all the fence, the silt fence, and the Jersey barriers were completed in the last 2 weeks, so it's now self-contained, and no one should get in and no one should get out as far as construction employees and others. The trailer's in place, which includes a generator, so there's electric power to handle all the things that they need to do there in the trailer to basically run their operations out of a mobile office. We've started receiving storm structures this week, though there will be more that will arrive. We've started to install the head wall as well as the 42-inch primary underground storm system, which is the larger one of the two. Progress has been started in regards to all the underground work. Work expected to be completed in the next 2 weeks is the 42-inch primary underground storm system, cutting the street for the sanitary sewer underground pipe system, start installing the sanitary sewer system underground pipe system, and then prepare to start the 30-inch primary underground storm system. That's where we're pretty much at right now, and unless it snows in August, we'll be okay. That's all I have.
Don't say that. Okay, thank you. Item 6, recognition of visitors. If there is anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. And, or you can take the microphone with you if you want.
Is it on? Yes.
Now better leave it.
Most of you know why I'm here. I'm going to be attending every board meeting I can until we can see if we can get our Eddie Eagle program going. But tonight I wanted to show you.
Can you give us your name and?
Oh, Ann Foster,
Okay, thank you.
living here in Fairborn.
All right, Ann, thanks.
Anyway, tonight I wanted to show you something I'm trying to get for each of the grades that will be involved, just one per room or whatever. It's a stuffed Eddie Eagle, you might say. They have them over at Carriage Hill as the best price. So I'll be acquiring more of those so that whenever we can pull this off, we'll be able to have one. Yeah, I'll pass it down so you can see it. But he looks a lot like what's in
Oh,
Yeah.
neat, yep. Yeah. You said you found him at Carriage Hill?
Yeah, they had the best price. And I'll be getting a package for you and for whoever else is new later.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
your dedication to that effort.
Yeah, I just came from a historical society.
That's all
Hey, you've
right.
been busy tonight.
Yeah, you're probably tired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, we'll close recognition of visitors. A motion to approve the minutes of the Marathon Thursday, June 28th regular meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Any comments, questions, corrections? Okay, call the
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
motion carries. Item 8, the treasurer's report. Mr. Taylor. So far, so good. I haven't slipped up.
I don't know if you need the lights. Gene, this is probably good enough.
He's gonna do it. And we're in the dark.
So I just wanted to do something different this month. I know you guys have been used to the same reports every month from Nicole. And for anybody that's interested, those are all on the back table for you to take, all the numbers and all the interesting stuff. But we do have a unique opportunity in July, since this is the fiscal year end on June 30th, to kind of get a one-year recap of what we've done for the past 12 months and kind of condense it into something that's a little bit easier to look at and a little bit easier to understand. So what I want to start off with, sources of revenue for Fairborn City Schools. I know this is small, and if anybody wants a copy of this, I'll be happy to email it to you tomorrow. Just let me know. We get almost 80% of our money from Fairborn local taxes in the state of Ohio. The reason that's important is we're very reliant on state revenue. So when the biennium budget comes up, and those other things come up, we're very interested in what's happening at the Columbus level. And also want to recognize our local taxpayers, because we do receive a lot of money just in local taxes. So this would include property tax, local income tax on the Fairborn number. The state of Ohio includes our state foundation money and also the casino and the old lottery money that people always say that we're getting a huge chunk from. We also do get a portion from the federal government, and that includes the impact aid money that we get, and also the federal entitlement grants like Title I, IDEA, and those other things. And anything that's deemed as other local, that's football gate receipts, anything else that's not considered local tax are coming from the state or feds. So the next obvious question is, where's our money going when we spend it? So this is categorically where we spend our money. Obviously, a large portion goes to personnel. That would include salaries and benefits for all of our personnel. We do have a larger chunk than most people going to what's called purchase services. That would include tuition to other districts, any utilities, anything just to keep the lights on, stuff like that. And then a small sliver for supplies and equipment, and then everything else under the other category, which would include, again, student activity groups, anything like that.
That purchase services includes the charter extraction.
Yes, sir. So that includes tuition to other schools, including charters and STEM schools. Using that same outlook, but doing it based on department, once again, a large portion goes to classroom instruction and extracurriculars. That should be obvious. We're a school district. Obviously, a large portion should go to that. About approximately 10% for administration, another 7% for maintenance, 5% for transportation, a little bit over 3% for dining services, and then we do have a large portion here. And this is going to keep getting bigger over the next couple of years for the construction fund and the bond funds. So if we come back again next year and compare this year to next year, you're going to see a larger portion here because we are going to be, have general contractors on site and dirt moving walls going up. So how does that impact our cash balance? Kind of looking at our cash balance, I got a 10-year history here, actually an 18-year history. Going back to 2000 all the way to 2018, you can see we had some lean years here in the early 2000s. That was when we were under state receivership and whatnot. And the line graph is actually our ending unencumbered cash balance. And I threw a bar graph in here that shows the percentage of our total expenditures that ending cash balance represents. So a good rule of thumb for treasurers, we try to maintain at least a 25 to 33%. We'd like to see that. That way, if our cash flow stopped, we could operate for at least 3 months going forward. So you can see here we had some really bad years where we were under 10%. And over the last 4 years, we've increased that number dramatically based on sound fiscal responsibility. The board's done a tremendous job. The associations have worked with us. We've built up that cash balance. So now you can see we have a very large cash balance at the end of this year. The one caution to that is that can go south very quickly. We've seen that in other districts. And we want to avoid that. So I just added here on this next slide to show what the projected cash balances are at the 5-year forecast back in the spring adopted. So you can see over the next 4 years, we're anticipating a decrease in our ending cash balance. And the reason being, we're not anticipating any increases in revenue. However, those expenditures are going to continue to increase with the step increases and whatnot, and just cost of living increases that go on with our total expenditures. With that, any questions I'll field? Comments?
I like the presentation, thank you.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good summary of everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Easy to understand, just like you said.
Yep.
Well done.
Okay, we'll move on to item 9, the consent agenda, the personnel and business office issues. It only goes to page 3 today. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Malad. Any questions, comments on these items? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt? Yes. Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Treasurer's Office, the June financial report, and approve a correction for the vendor name for payment of the then and now purchase order. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Any questions, comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. McCourt? Yes. Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item C, the financial report, checks paid, and we have some abstentions as usual in this one. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt? Abstain. Ms. Reister?
Abstain.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item 11, new business, Board of Education. Approve the rental agreement between the Fairborn City Schools and the Digital Academy. May I have a motion?
Moved.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. I'll second. Any discussion, comments? I'll make a comment. This is a good support for an alternative right here in Fairborn to help the students that may not fit or may not be able to attend school. So this is a good thing that we do here. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt? Yes. Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, motion carries. Item 12, board member reports and good of the order. Mr. McCourt.
Well, first of all, just been trying to get around to the construction site, not to get inside the fence, but do a drive-by, if you will. And, but it's always good to see a lot of things going on over there. A lot of people excited about seeing the excavating equipment and what is going on over there. I would like to throw out a thank you to the city for the painting of the water tower, proudly displaying the Skyhawk banner over there, and or the logo, I should say. Also, I've been in some of the buildings and every year it just amazes me over the summer how much of a mess the custodians make and how pretty it is when the kids come back. So they really do a great job for us in all of our buildings, and I just appreciate their hard work as well. Good to see some things going on here at the high school with the gymnasium floors, getting them cleaned up, new bleachers coming. So a lot of things being worked on as well. The auditorium business down there that's happening. So just a lot of good things coming, coming to being, and we'll look forward to seeing all those projects come to an end where we can all look proudly at all the hard work that was done. Also want to say a big thank you to Mark North for what he has done in this school district, for the things he started 2.5 years ago, getting us through the bond issue, working through a lot of things here in the building. I remember maybe not highlights to him, but and maybe not highlights to a lot of us, but working a lot of long hours, updating policies for the district, and just doing a lot of other good things that we sure appreciate his efforts. Mark, to you, your family, your kids, your daughters, just want to say thank you very much for all you've done, and the best of luck to you. And that's all I have.
All right, Ms. Reister.
I would like to echo the sentiments to Mark and his family. Best of luck to you, and thank you as a parent and as a member of the board for all that you have done. I also want to say a huge thank you to Eric Liddick at On the Go Prince. He sponsored two of our young men, two of our football players, to attend the Braxton Miller Charging Camp, the second annual Braxton Miller Charging Camp. So for those of you who don't know, Braxton Miller used to play for Ohio State and is now in the NFL. So I also want to say thank you to Coach Rourke and to Kevin Alexander for putting that together and working through that and making that happen as well.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, for the sake of not repeating everything, the construction site, that's exciting to see dirt actually moving over there, thanking the city for the water tower. That's going to look beautiful next to brand-new buildings. And I think everybody's excited to see that. And I wanted to thank Mark also. Mark has really helped move this district ahead the last couple of years that he's been here. Great progress, again, with the bond, those types of things. And I want to echo the sentiments that everybody said up to this point also. Thank you.
Mrs. Malad.
Well, the parade was hot.
Yes, it
So
was.
thanks to everybody who came out and supported, and it was fun to see all the faces out there. Thanks to Rick for stepping up. Good job on your
Yes.
first meeting. So, and hopefully we'll move things along to get this ship righted again. But yeah, everything has been going along very smoothly, and I appreciate that. Thanks everybody for keeping it going.
Yes. Yes, the parade was particularly hot, especially that stretch of Central with the new pavement. And then I was asleep at the switch, and my ride halfway back left me before I could get on it, so I had to walk all the way back to the formation area in the heat. So, Mr. North, thank you very much for your 2 years here. There's been so much accomplished here in the past 2 years. It's pretty amazing to see that. We really appreciate your efforts, and we do wish you the best of luck for you and your family and your new endeavors up north. So that's and yes, Rick, thank you
Right.
also for stepping into the shoes and being in the interim and giving us a new twist on the financial report.
Right.
So, okay. Item 13, executive session to discuss the employment and compensation of a public employee. It will initially be the board members and Mr. Taylor, and then we will follow up with Mr. Lally, adding Mr. Lally and Cindy Ritter from K-12 there. We expect no action after the meeting, so or after the executive session, so you're welcome to stay, but all we will be doing is coming out of executive session and voting to adjourn. So may I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Browning?
Yes.
Ms. Reister?
Yes.
Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Mrs. Malad?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, we are now in executive session.